Good morning, students. Myself Atul Kumar, and I will teach you class 6th biology. And we will discuss chapter 8 of that. And the chapter name is Adaptation. So, student, as you know, all the living beings live in a particular environment surrounding that includes, so in that you can find plants also, animals, then land, air, water, sky, and other many living and the non-living things also. All these things affect the life of a living beings and constitutes its environment. Thus, anything that surround and affect the life of an organism is called its environment. So, the non-living component of environment are called abiotic components. So, abiotic components are your like air, water, light, soil, and temperature. While the living component, those who have life, so that are your plants and animals, and they are called as biotic components. So here we will start with the topic. The content we will discuss first of all. So the topics that we will discuss in these chapters are habitat first of all, then adaptation, then types of habitat, then adaptation in aquatic habitat, then adaptation in desert habitat, then adaptation in the mountain habitat, and adaptation in the aerial plants. So these are the topics which we will study in this chapter. So now first that we are starting with that is the habitat. Living things are found almost everywhere in the world. Okay, so you can find them on the land, and then in the air also, water also, and underground also. So then the natural environment in which a living organism live is called its habitat. As you can see here, this is the definition of that. So in which the organism is living, wherever it is surviving its life, so that is called its natural habitat of living. Every organism is survive best in its own habitat because its body is adapted to live in that particular habitat, or you can say environment. Now next is what is habitat. So habitat now we will discuss. So immediate surrounding of an organisms are called its habitat. The favorable environment condition that help the organism to survive in a particular habitat are called adaptation. So example, like one example, the body of a polar bear is adapted to live in the cold mountainous region. So this was about the habitat. As you can see, a habitat provides the living things with food, water, and the right kind of environment, that is to live, so that they can live there. Example, like the wilds as need warm weather, it feed upon desert plant and can live with less amount of water. Therefore we can say that the warm sandy desert is its habitat. All living things are adapted to grow in a particular environment. Plants and animals which grow well in forests will not grow on mountains. In our country, different types of habitat are available for all the living things. So they can be like hot sandy desert of Rajasthan, then the cold mountainous region of Himalayan region, and the green Western Ghat, in which a rich variety of plants and animal can survive. Now the next that we are going to study is about the types of adaptation. So biosphere in the is the place where all living things can survive. There are different types of habitat present in the biosphere for all living things. Habitat located on the land are called terrestrial habitat, as you can see here. So the animals which are surviving on the land, so they are called the terrestrial habitat, and like example is sandy desert and the mountain region. While the habitat of different water bodies means the animals which are living mostly in the water or river, like river, ocean, example as you can see here, lakes, river, pond and ocean, so they are called the aquatic habitat. Now this topic is, now the next is the adaptation in aquatic habitat. So aquatic habitat, it has a, it is includes, that is pond, lakes, river. So these are the example of freshwater habitat. So they are found in the freshwater, you can say, while coral reef and ocean, they are the example of salt water bodies. So now first one, that is about the aquatic habitat for plants. So plants that grow in water are called aquatic plants. So this is the first thing you should remember. So they are also known as hydrophytes. So other name for the aquatic plant, you can say that they are the hydrophytes. They have a special adaptation in their body part that help them to grow in water. So they are able to, that's why they have some adaptive feature in their body part and they are able to grow. Now root helps the plant to hold them in place. As you can see in the water, they used to stay at one place. So this is due to the help of the root of the plant. Thus their stem is hollow, long and thin that help the plant to float with the water. So with the help of stem, they are able to float. Then their leaves either float on the surface of water or are submerged in the water. So these aquatic plants are of three types. So they can be like as floating plants, fixed plant and submerged plant. So what are the floating plants now? So some plants such like green algae, so also they then water hyacinths, they are also called the terror of Bengal. So they are floating freely on the top of water and we call them as the floating plants. So what the characters they are showing, like they have flat floating leaves to collect maximum sunlight, while the leaves have waxy coating to make them waterproof. So the leaves are like such that they are, as you can say, as a waterproof leaf. So they are not getting destroyed easily. Now, as this was about the floating plant, now the fixed plant. So the fixed plant like water lily you can see and the lotus have the root that fix the plant in the mud at the bottom of the pond. So they can, their roots are fixed in the mud and that's why they are known as fixed aquatic plant. So the feature that are shown by the fixed aquatic plants, that are root of such plants are fixed in the soil at the bottom of a pond. Then the stomata in the leaves are on the upper side. Then their leaves have waxy coating to make them waterproof. Then the stems are hollow and very light, which help the leaves to float. And the last point, that the stems are flexible. Now next is about the submerged plant. So plant like tap grass, hydrilla live and grow under the water and hence are called either you can say underwater or submerged plant. So for the feature that are shown by submerged plant are that they have a thin rubber like leaf that can easily bend with the following water without getting damaged. So leaves of submerged plants are divided, which allow them to flow without causing any damage to them. The stems are flexible and have air space. So this was about the aquatic plant for aquatic habitat for plant. Already we discussed there three type. So now next, that is your aquatic habitat in animals. So in the case of animals we will discuss now. So like the varieties of aquatic plant, there are a large variety of animals like fish, you can see frog, that are also adapted to live in the aquatic habitat. Hence, we will discuss about the adaptive feature, like suppose one example we have taken of fish. So fish, they are found in the freshwater habitat, such as like in the pond and lake, as well as in the salt water also, and in the oceans also. Both the freshwater fish and saltwater fish similar adaptive feature for aquatic life. They show the following features that are, so the fish has the streamlined body which allow them to penetrate easily through the water. Then they have air bladder that help them to float in the water. Then they have gills for exchange of gases. They use oxygen dissolved in water for breathing. Next, adaptation in the desert habitat. So in this also, desert habitat is a type of terrestrial habitat. You can say on that land habitat. So in desert, what happen? Days are very hot. So daytime it will be so much hot, while the night are very cool. A desert receive no rainfall. So there is only in rare case the rain used to happen there, or scarcity rainfall throughout the year. Means only sometime it can, in a rare case, the rainfall can occur throughout the year. Plants and animals living in the desert receive water from the dew drop formed during the cool night. So the plants are able to get the water that is at the night time as the dew which is occurring on the plant. So now first we will discuss desert habitat for plants. So one of the plant example, like cactus is the plant that grow in the desert. It shows some features which enable them to survive in such hot and dry condition. So what features the cactus plant have? It store water in their thick stem. So they used to keep stored water in their thick stem. Then their leaves are reduced to spines that help in checking the loss of water from the plant. Their roots grow deeply into the soil to absorb water and minerals. Then their stems are green and make food for the plant by the process of photosynthesis. So now desert habitat, second one, that is desert habitat for animals. So in the case of animal, like animals such as camel is there, then mice, kangaroo, rat, lizard and snakes, these are found in the desert. These animals are adapted to live with less amount of water. So they don't need so much water. They obtain water from the food they eat. So how they are getting the water? From the food only, from which the food they are eating. During the daytime, most of the desert animal remain in the shade. So like suppose one example, I am talking about the camel. So what all the features it shows? So the long leg of camel keep their body away from the hot sand and help to keep cool. Then they can store excess food in their hump for future use. So extra amount of food can be taken by the camel. So whenever they need, so they can eat it. Then they have long eye lashes which protect their eyes from sand. So eye lashes are long. Why? So that the eyes can get protected from the hot desert, hot sand. Then they keep their nostril closed for avoiding the entrance of sand and dust particle. Then they have a long neck so that they can easily reach the ground for grazing. Okay, so the neck is long. That's why they can easily reach up to down part and they can easily eat the grass. Then they do not sweat. So no sweating occur on their body. They excrete very little urine. So they for urination, urine is also produced less, as you know, they don't depend on the water so much. Now the next is adaptation in mountain habitat. So mountains are very cold and windy. In most of the month of the year, the mountain range are covered with snow. This make it difficult for plants and animals to survive there. In the mountain region, the temperature decreases with increase in the altitude. The region of lower altitude are warmer in comparison to the region of higher altitude. Due to such environmental difference, there is a large variety of plants and animals found in this type of habitat. So, the dense forest of trees like bamboo and oak are found in lower and warmer region of mountain. As we go on to higher altitude, the temperature drops and the region get covered with coniferous forest and evergreen trees. Like suppose if we talk about the goat, mountain goat, so what all the features they are showing? They have specialized hooves composed of hard outer edge and a soft central that allow them to grip rock and climb steep hills and rocks. Then it also develop a thin coat of foam. So what that foam is doing, they are protecting them from the cold temperature and biting mountain winds. So now next is adaptation in the aerial plants. So they are the plant that grow on rainforest trees and take nutrients from the surrounding environment. Then they do not have their root system grow in the soil, and their root grow above the soil and are called aerial roots. So these aerial roots serve different purpose, like as for support, then for breathing, for getting nutrients, and for propagation. So it can be of different types, like supporting root. So the root get modified to get additional support to the plant. So they can be of different type, like prop roots, stilt roots, and climbing roots, while other one is your breathing roots. So some plants like mangroves grow in marshy or water-logged land where the root do not get enough oxygen for respiration, and that such types of roots are known as nematophores. And the last, that is the parasitic plants, the plant that live on other plant to get nutrient. So they are called as parasitic plants. Plant that provide nutrient is called the host. So who is providing the nutrient, that plant is known by name as host, and the plant that get nutrient is called the parasite. The parasite plant penetrate into the host body to get nutrient. So this much only, students. Already exercise everything has been discussed in your class. Thank you, students.